Sometimes people have to step outside of their comfort zones and realize the world is not always so bright and cheerful. The darker side of poetry can be found in the worlds of myths, legends, creatures, and curses. The spoken word invites the reader to open their minds and their imaginations to a host of otherworldly situations. In this next chapter of the Cat o' Nine Tails journey, our fearsome friends of the Cork Arts Theatre bring you a selection of spooks, spells, fairies, and curses to keep you on your toes. Enjoy, if you can.
"Is there anybody there?" said the traveller, knocking on the moonlit door, and his horse in the silence champed the grasses of the forest's ferny floor. And a bird flew up and out of the turret above the traveller's head, and he smote upon the door again a second time. "Is there anybody there?" he said. But no one descended to the traveller. No head from the leaf-fringed sill leaned over and looked into his grey eyes, where he stood, perplexed and still. But only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet of the moonlight to that voice from the world of men, stood thronging the faint moonbeams on the dark stair that goes down to an empty hall, hearkening in an air still and shaken by the lonely traveller's call. And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry, while his horse moved, cropping the dark turf, neath the starred and leafy sky. For he suddenly smote on the door even louder, and lifted his head. "Tell them I came, that no one answered, that I kept my word," he said. Never the least stir made the listeners, though every word he spake fell echoing through the shadowness of the still house from the one man left awake. Aye, they heard his foot upon the stirrup, and the sound of iron on stone, and how the silence surged softly backwards when the plunging hoofs were gone.
There's a one-eyed yellow idol to the north of Kathmandu. There's a little marble cross below the town. There's a broken-hearted woman tends the grave of Mad Carew, and the yellow god forever gazes down. He was known as Mad Carew by the subs at Kathmandu. He was hotter than they felt inclined to tell. But for all his foolish pranks, he was worshipped in the ranks, and the colonel's daughter smiled on him as well. He had loved her all along with a passion of the strong. The fact that she loved him was plain to all. She was nearly 21, and arrangements had begun to celebrate her birthday with a ball. He wrote to ask what present she would like from Mad Carew. They met next day as he dismissed a squad, and jestingly she told him then that nothing else would do but the green eye of the little yellow god. On the night before the dance, Mad Carew seemed in a trance, and they chaffed him as they puffed at their cigars. But for once he failed to smile, and he sat alone a while, then went out into the night beneath the stars. He returned before the dawn, with his shirt and tunic torn, and a gash across his temple dripping red. He was patched up right away, and he slept through all the day, and the colonel's daughter watched beside his bed. He woke at last, and asked if they could send his tunic through. She brought it, and he thanked her with a nod. He bade her search the pocket, saying, "That's from Mad Carew," and she found the little green eye of the god. She upbraided poor Carew in the way that women do, though both her eyes were strangely hot and wet. But she wouldn't take the stone, and Mad Carew was left alone with the jewel that he'd chanced his life to get. When the ball was at its height on that still and tropic night, she thought of him and hurried to his room. As she crossed the barrack square, she could hear the dreamy air of a waltz tune softly stealing through the gloom. His door was open wide, with silver moonlight shining through. The place was wet and slippery where she trod. An ugly knife lay buried in the heart of Mad Carew. 'Twas the vengeance of the little yellow god. There's a one-eyed yellow idol to the north of Kathmandu. There's a little marble cross below the town. There's a broken-hearted woman tends the grave of Mad Carew, and the yellow god forever gazes down.
Up the airy mountain, down the rushy glen, we daren't go a-hunting for fear of little men. Wee folk, good folk, trooping all together, green jacket, red cap, and white owl's feather. Down along the rocky shore some make their home. They live on crispy pancakes of yellow tide foam. Some in the reeds of the black mountain lake, with frogs for their watchdogs, all night awake. High on the hilltop the old king sits. He is now so old and grey he's nigh lost his wits. With the bridge of white mist Columkill he crosses, on his stately journeys from Slieve League to Ross's. Or going up with the music on cold starry nights, to sup with the queen of the gay northern lights. They stole little Bridget for 7 years long. When she came down again, her friends were all gone. They took her lightly back between the night and morrow. They thought that she was fast asleep, but she was dead with sorrow. They've kept her ever since deep within the lake, on a bed of fig leaves, watching till she wake. By the craggy hillside through the mosses bare, they have planted thorn trees for my pleasure here and there. Is any man so daring as dig them up in spite? He shall find their sharpest thorns in his bed at night. Up the airy mountain, down the rushy glen, we daren't go a-hunting for fear of little men. Wee folk, good folk, trooping all together, green jacket, red cap, and white owl's feather.
Worried mothers bawled her name to call wild children from their games. Nellie Mulcahy, Nellie Mulcahy, if you don't come home she'll carry you off in her big black bag. Her name was Fear, and fear begat obedience. But one day she made a real appearance, a harmless hag with a bag on her back. When the children heard, they gathered together, and in trice were stalking the little weary traveller. 10, 20, 30, 40, numbers gave them courage, though, had they known it, Nelly was more timid by far than the timidest there. Once or twice she turned to look at the bravado-swollen pack. Slowly the chant began. Nelly Mulcahy, Nelly Mulcahy, wicked old woman, wicked old woman. One child threw a stone. Another did likewise. Soon the little monsters were furiously stoning her whose name was Fear. When she fell, bleeding to the ground, whimpering like a beaten pup, even then they didn't give up but pelted her like mad. Suddenly they stopped, looked at each other, then at Nelly lying on the ground, shivering. Slowly they withdrew one by one. Silence. Silence. All the stones were thrown. Between the hedges of their guilt, Cain children shambled home. Alone, she dragged herself up, crying in small, half-uttered moans, limped away across the land, black bag on her back, agony racking her bones. Between her and the children, like hideous forms of fear, the stones.
The moonlight fades from flower and tree, and the stars dim one by one. The tale is told, the song is sung, and the fairy feast is done. The night wind rocks the sleeping flowers and sings to them soft and low. The early birds ere long will wake. 'Tis time for the elves to go. O'er the sleeping earth we silently pass, unseen by mortal eye, and send sweet dreams as we lightly float through the quiet moonlit sky. For the stars' soft eyes alone may see, and the flowers alone may know the feasts we hold, the tales we tell. So 'tis time for the elves to go. From bird and blossom and bee, we learn the lessons they teach, and seek by kindly deeds to win a loving friend in each. And though unseen on earth we dwell, sweet voices whisper low, and gentle hearts most joyously greet the elves where'er they go. When next we meet in the fairy dell, may the silver moon's soft light shine then on faces gay as now, and elfin hearts as light. Now spread each wing, for the eastern sky with sunlight soon shall glow. The morning star shall light us home. Farewell, for the elves must go.
On those who stole our cat, a curse. May they always have an empty purse and need a doctor and a nurse prematurely. May their next car be a big black hearse, oh may it surely. May all their kids come down with mange, their eldest daughter start acting strange, and the wife start riding the range, and I don't mean the aga. When she begins to go through the change, may she go gaga. And may the husband lose his job, and have great trouble with his knob, and the son turn out a yob and smash the place up. May he give his da a belt in the gob and mess his face up. And may the granny end up in jail for opening her neighbour's mail. May all that clan moan, weep and wail, turn grey and wizened on the day she doesn't get bail, but Mountjoy prison. Oh, may their daughter end up the pole, and their drunken uncle lose his dole, for our poor cat one day they stole. May they rue it. And if there is a black hellhole, may they go through it. Unfriendly loan sharks to their door, as they beg for 1 week more. May the 7 curses of Inchicore rot and blight 'em. May all their enemies settle the score and kick the shite of 'em. I wish rabies on all their pets. I wish them a flock of bastard gets. I wish 'em a load of unpayable debts. TV inspectors, to show 'em a poet never forgets his malefactors. May rats and mice them ever hound. May half of them be of mind unsound. May their house burn down to the ground, and no insurance. May drugs and thugs their lives surround beyond endurance. May God forgive the heartless thief who caused our household so much grief. If you think I'm harsh, sigh with relief. I haven't even started. I can do worse. I am, in brief, yours truly, Michael Hartnett.
To a sister of an enemy of the authors who disapproved of the playby. Lord, confound this surly sister, blight her brow with blotch and blister, cramp her larynx, lung and liver, in her guts a galling give her. Let her live to earn her dinners in Mountjoy with seedy sinners. Lord, this judgment quickly bring, and I am your servant, J.M. Singh.
What has happened to Lulu, Mother? What has happened to Lou? There's nothing in her bed but an old rag doll and by its side a shoe. Why is her window wide, Mother? The curtain flapping free. And only a circle on the dusty shelf where her money box used to be. Why do you turn your head, Mother? And why do the teardrops fall? And why do you crumple that note on the fire and say it is nothing at all? I woke to voices late last night. I heard an engine roar. Why do you tell me the things I heard were a dream and nothing more? I heard someone cry, Mother, in anger or in pain. But now I ask you, why, Mother? You say it was a gust of rain. Why do you wander about as though you don't know what to do? What has happened to Lulu, Mother? What has happened to Lou?
I have walked a great while over the snow, and I am not tall nor strong. My clothes are wet, and my teeth are set, and the way was hard and long. I have wandered over the fruitful earth, but I never came here before. Oh, lift me over the threshold, and let me in at the door. The cutting wind is a cruel foe. I dare not stand in the blast. My hands are stone, and my voice a groan, and the worst of death is past. I am but a little maiden still. My little white feet are sore. Oh, lift me over the threshold, and let me in at the door. Her voice was the voice that women have, who plead their heart's desire. She came, and the quivering flame sunk and died in the fire. It never was lit again on my hearth since I hurried across the floor to lift her over the threshold and let her in at the door.